First of all, oh my God, I miss your face.
I know, you too. What's going on?
All the things. Well, you've got more going on than I do. Who did you just interview?
Uncle Cracker just stopped by the studio of all people, being that I'm on a country show, but he just got off tour with Kenny Chesney, and he's got a new album out, so he had some stuff to talk about.
Do you work in a home studio, or do you work outside of an actual studio?
Yeah, so no, I'm in Nashville, so it's not my home. The company I work for is Town Square Media, and they rent like this studio space. And we've been here for about 5 or 6 years, and it's so cool, like as a radio guy, because like this is just my space. So I don't have to like share a fart chair per se with anyone, or a mic with anyone, which has been like awesome.
Well, for people that don't know, we met at Channel 955 when we both worked in Detroit. You were the night guy, but you were not Evan Paul. You were Big Boy.
Big Boy, yeah.
And that is how I met you. I got a job as the producer for the morning show there, but we shared that studio. So sometimes you would leave surprises for us in the morning and vice versa.
Definitely.
I never knew what I was walking into at 3:30 in the morning.
Definitely. I would imagine, there was a lot that happened at night. So it was so different that like whenever I would go into your guys' studio in the morning, I'd be like, wow, this is what it's like for like a real operation. Like, whoa. It was like,
you had your own real operation though. I mean, you had already been doing radio for years prior to that, right?
Yeah. So when we had met, that was in 2006, 7-ish.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I started radio in 1998.
I mean, you were 17 though, right?
I was 17 when I started. So I graduated. My birthday was in high school was on like the day after the cutoff. So I graduated really early. So I was 17 when I graduated high school, and I was 17 when I enrolled in college. And where I went to college, they had a college radio station. And I just wanted to be on the radio, and I was still 17.
Did you always just want to be on the radio? Do you know what I mean? Like how some people are like, I just want to be a doctor or an actor or whatever. Like, did you just always want to be on the radio?
It's so weird looking back now, because in my head, no. But then looking back at all the things that led me here, it was apparent that I just didn't realize it until I guess God was like, you're going to do this. Because like looking back, there was always like, I just remember as a kid recording into my dad's little cassette thing with my brother. We would do like recordings of radio. We would do our own radio show. And then like, I remember, but I didn't think anything of it back then. And then like even further back, I just remember little things like when I was like 5 or 6, we used to live near the TV weatherman for a local news station. And my parents told me I used to like knock on his door and ask him what the weather would be. And then like, I remember like there's little parts of radio in my life. I know that's TV, but like when I was in high school, one of the baseball coaches on my team was Officer Brian Stickley. And he would do call-ins as the traffic guy while he was like our coach, and he would have the station vehicle out there. And I was always like, man, this is so cool, and in middle school, when we had like our IT technology class or whatever they called it then, there was a radio station that just broadcasted to the classroom. And that was like a part of like 1 week you played Sim City, 1 week you played the radio station. I just thought that was so fun. Again, didn't think anything of it. And then I found this college that was like really the only college I could get into. And they had a college radio station. And I was like, dude, this would be cool. And from day one, I was just like, I got to get on the radio.
Did you take to it immediately, or was there a learning curve? Were you nervous at first? Because a lot of times, yes, it's a small room, but when you're live, like there's people listening. It can get into your head sometimes. Did you just block that out and were you just able to be yourself? How did you sort of manage the early days?
It was weird. The first time I was ever on the radio, it was there was a girl doing her shift, and she asked me to do a crosstalk with her where I was in the room across from her, and we started talking. And I just remember calling my friends in the dorm, being like, "Dude, put the radio on. Put the radio on. Put the radio on." And I went to college in Western Carolina, and it was in a valley, and you couldn't get any other outside radio stations. And this was before iPods and stuff. And this was right as people were just starting to download off Napster. And radio was a big deal. And college, our station being the only one that got to the whole campus and surrounding, was a big deal. We played everything. You played what you wanted to on the radio when you worked your shifts. Yeah. So I was like playing Jay-Z, then I was playing like the Eagles. So it was like, you could play whatever you want. And I just remember, like, after hearing my voice on the radio, and all my friends hearing it, talking with the girl, her name was Tigress. And I've tried to find her. I don't know where she's at now. I don't think she does radio, but she put me on. And I remember having these little things on and getting my little thing like this. And I remember hearing my voice come through here. And I remember that feeling. I'll never forget that feeling. And from that moment on, I was like, I want to be on the radio. And they were like, well, we do a 3-hour shifts, and it's all run by college kids, and there was no shifts open. And they were like, as soon as there's some shifts open, but why don't you come in here and learn how to do it in the meantime? So I got them to teach me how to like load the CDs and answer the phones and turn on the microphone and everything. And then sure as like one day, they were like, hey, we have an opening Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays to do, I think it was like 1 to 5 or something in the afternoon.
Afternoons.
Yeah. And I remember I had a class on those days until like 1:30 or 1:40. And I remember begging the student PD at the time to, like, we had just done automation, started it, and we were only using Winamp, and we were just loading up a playlist, and that was what was playing. I'd be like, dude, just leave it on for 50 minutes. And then he was like, all right. And then I chugged up the hill. It was up a hill, and I did it every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I ran just to get my first break in. I was out of breath. Like, ever since then, like, it just has been like something that I just always have loved. I never really got nervous.
That's amazing. Would you think about your breaks in advance, or are you always just sort of a flow person, like get into flow state and whatever happens, happens?
So when I first started in college radio, I didn't think of anything in advance. We were just doing it. But then I got, over the summer of that year, I got a chance to go on in Charlotte, North Carolina on KISS 95.1 when I was 18. And it was like I was a board op just pressing the buttons when I came home in the summer. That's because I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I got to go on the air there, and it was all different. So then I had to like forget everything I thought I learned, and I had to go down. They made me like, my program director was like, less focus on your personality and more focus on how to catch a ground ball before you start really diving for the ball per se. So it got all the way back to like writing out KISS 95.1. This is blah, blah, blah. This is, and coming up next, just to learn like the schematics or whatever that word, the formatics.
It's the fundamentals, learning the fundamentals, the basics of radio.
Yeah. So I had to like learn the basics of radio after I'd been on the radio. But in college, where the college had like 10,000 kids, so maybe like 2,000 ever were listening, on to a city in Charlotte, which at the time was like market 37, which was million people listening or whatnot. There was a lot of like, yo, you need to learn how to actually like hit before you get the bat,
Are you appreciative of that time where they were kind of like, let's rewind? Or do you think that by putting you in a box and not letting you like be yourself and do it your way, maybe they missed out a little bit?
I was pissed. I was like 18, 19. Like I was pissed, but like there was like I needed it looking back, but like yeah, I was pissed because there was other jocks on the station that were like older that were just doing whatever they wanted, you know, and I just felt like I was just like just having to do like liners and read what they told me to. And I really wasn't able to develop a personality. It was so weird because I would go back to college and be on the air. And I was like this star on the college campus. Like I was like getting into like parties everywhere, free DJing frat parties. Like it was a whole crazy situation. And then when I got to the Charlotte, it was like, nothing. It was like I you know, so I had to like I don't know, but I needed
You had to
that.
pay your dues.
I had to
That's
pay
all.
my dues, you know.
Big
So
market dues.
yeah, it was good. I needed to learn how to like be on the radio. So I looking back, like I feel like I wouldn't have made it anywhere if I didn't do that.
Right. So let's talk about the road that radio takes a lot of us because it's a fickle business, right? And you've been to multiple markets. I mean, you mentioned Charlotte, Boise, Memphis, Detroit, New York, San Diego, Philadelphia, Portland, Detroit, and now you're back. Well, now you're in Nashville, right?
Yeah, that's a lot. I think you got them all.
I think I did. You're hosting Taste of Country Nights, which broadcasts live on more than 100 stations nationwide.
Yeah, so it's, we're up to like 133 now. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of cool. It's a joint venture between Town Square Media. They have nationwide night shows that are just fully contained that they put on their stations. And then this one is picked up by a syndication partner that, so I'm on like 57 Town Square stations, and then the rest is through Compass Media. And it's just been amazing. Like it's the most fun I've ever had. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, you've been through different genres of music.
Yeah.
Country hasn't always been the music genre that you've been a host of.
Nah.
So, which do you like the best? I mean, I guess that's a loaded question. You're working with country right now.
Dude, I would say country 100%. Like,
Not just the music, though. I've always found country artists still get radio.
they do.
They're the sweetest, nicest people, and they still get it. Everybody else could care less.
They do, and it's not even. I mean, I listen to a lot of the music, but like I don't know a lot of the music from back in the day. Like I didn't listen to that back then, but I can't speak more positively about the artists, the genre, the machine that is country music. These artists are the nicest people. Everyone's like, who's the nicest? I'm like, I can't answer that. I've never, and they're like, well, who's the meanest? I'm like, I can't answer that. I'm like, nobody, it's literally a family and they understand the machine and they work with the labels. It's a well-oiled machine. There's like everything from like when like as soon as an artist puts a song out, you know they're going to be doing interviews. You know they're going to tell you, give you all the assets you need. They're going to tell you when their push week is to get to the number one slot. Like it's a family. They invite you to everything. Like you're invited to any and every party. They send you things like all kinds of gifts and things, and they're just the nicest people. Like it's like you
Well,
literally.
and you are in Nashville.
Yeah, I'm right
And
here.
you've been there for so long that people love you, number one. So when they're breaking music, they're breaking music with you.
Yeah.
Do you feel like how huge that is?
No, I don't know. And I don't know. I just like, I'm just grateful that like I could just do it. And I haven't really took time to like think about it. And I try to like not get too caught up in it. And like, you know, I, I'm, I, I'm here doing my job. They're doing their job. We're friendly. We all like each other. You know, I don't, would we all be friends if I lost my job tomorrow? Probably not. And I get it. and I get it. I know my place. I understand that. But on the other end, it is cool to like be able to be in these rooms with these people and like learn so much and just be able to hang out with them. You know,
Well, I want to talk about radio and losing jobs because a lot of our people lost a ton. I mean, tons of cuts across the board. What advice can you give to these people who are now looking for jobs, whether in radio or otherwise? You've been there, done that. You've had the ups and downs. You've been looking for radio jobs before. What advice do you have for them?
I don't know. It's so much has changed since I've even been here since 2019. There's just I don't know. Okay. So like when I was coming up, you chased market size. Like you wanted to get to the biggest city you could. And I did that. It was fun. I got to New York City. Like, and I would never do that again, but it was fun to do. And it was fun at the time, but it was not, and it's not. And nowadays those jobs are few and far between because there's people like me that are plugged in there. And so I think the way to go now is to find a company like where I work at, like a company that believes in not just radio, but the digital aspect as well, that can mesh the two together. And not just that, but don't worry about what market you're going to go to. Go somewhere. If this is really what you want to do, just look at it as like a way to get through life without having a real job. And you know what I'm saying? Like find find a smaller company, a smaller city, somewhere where radio is still alive in the cities where I'm on the radio, like in some of the smaller cities, like radio is going. And these people want content from people. They just want good content. And it doesn't matter, if it's local or not. But I don't know. My advice will be to stay in the smaller cities where you can just be thankful that this is what you do for a job, get a nice livable wage, have fun, and it's great if you can find it. And if you're looking for work, I mean, it's tough work, but the only people really hiring are the smaller markets and the smaller companies. And if you want to get into the bigger markets, you just nowadays either have to know people, have an agent, have to have experience. But if you're just starting out, you just unfortunately can't be on the radio. That just can't be your job anymore. And when I first started, like that's what it was. Like you are a radio guy, and then the webcam came through and then this and then this and then this. And now if you're just a radio guy, you are more disposable than a razor. Like you have to.
Well, what's so funny to me is radio DJs were the first influencers. Before influencers, before people were creating content or content creators, radio DJs and hosts were the first influencers. And so it's fascinating to me that companies aren't sort of doubling down on their hosts and their personalities to help them with a multimedia format and making money in different ways other than just radio ads on the radio. It's so weird to me.
I think honestly, like radio just got messed up so bad that and it's like so on its way out, kind of, that they don't want to fix it. And everybody's just holding on, blaming everybody else. And I mean, I'm the same way. I'm holding on. I just want this to hold on until I can retire, never, and die. I just want to do this till I die. That's all I care about. And
I think you're a beloved personality. I think that you're in your sweet spot, like where you're living, what you're doing. I think you found like the niche, basically.
Yeah.
But like your real name is Evan Rose, which is a beautiful name. Is Paul your middle name? Like where did Evan Paul come from?
Paul's my middle name. So yeah, it's funny because when I worked in Detroit the first time, I was Big Boy, and even the second time I was Big Boy. But other than that, I used to go by Chunky. I lost a bunch of weight, And
Not a bunch of weight. Like, explain how much weight you have lost.
I lost like 275 pounds.
And kept it off.
Yeah, that was in 2013.
Okay, we need to talk about this because your ability to not overeat, to stay on your schedule, to have created a foundation after the weight loss is fascinating to me. I'm a food addict. I have mental issues when it comes to food.
Same.
And it's like weird to say out loud, right? Because like people with like other addictions probably look at it like you're a food addict. What does that mean? But I have a real problem. I truly do. How did you lose the weight and how do you keep it off? How do you not resist? Like, how do you resist temptation?
So I lost the weight I was like, one try that I tried 100 times. It was just my 100th try. Here we go. And this time it was like a bar that I ate, and like you eat like 2 bars. I don't remember what the latest fad was, but I remember coming home from my morning show in Philly, and I was like, man, I was like 500 pounds. I was like, man, I'm craving a salad. And I was like, I've never craved a salad, but I'm eating these bars. I'm like, so then I was like, I don't know. I just was like, I'm not going to do this bar diet. I'm going to do a salad diet. I just started making up my own diet, but I ate like a lot, quantities, but of like salad and like chicken and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm just going to do this. And I just started doing that and just stuck to it. And then like after 6 months, I went to the doctor and I had lost like 100 pounds. I didn't even know. And I was like, whoa. And then I was like, all right, like F this, I'm going. I'm not going back. Like I'm in now. The most I'd ever lost at the time was like 20 pounds, but I'm like, I'm going in. So then I was like, just kept adding to my diet, little things, anything that if I missed pizza, I found a way to make it so I could eat it. Like whether it was just like on a tortilla with fat-free cheese and there's always like a way to make it. I cut out like salt. I cut out all like white bread. There's a salt substitute that I've been using that all my doctors say is cool. It's just potassium. And there's so many ways to like do it. And yeah, once I lost the weight, I just kind of look at everything like that I'm like allergic to it, just kind of like an alcoholic does like a drink, so it's like, I don't really, and a routine, I try to stay on a routine, and I just.
Well, you food prep too. I mean, you're great at food prepping. So you have something to grab, number one.
Yep.
Number two, I think you got addicted to the outcome, right?
Yeah.
Get addicted to the outcome of losing the weight and feeling healthier.
Yep.
I mean, I can't imagine being almost 500 pounds and what that does to your lifestyle and your mental health.
Yeah. But you don't honestly like didn't know it at the time. Like I was loving life. I was in New York being a radio DJ and clubs and, and it was like, but after like now there'll be like, just yesterday I was running through Walmart with a 40-pound bag of wood chips. And I was like, it wasn't even like phasing me. And I was just thinking like, I could never have done this. I could never have raised kids like this, but at the time you don't know that, but afterwards you really do know that, and I still eat a lot. I eat a lot, but I eat broccoli. I eat a lot of chicken. I eat a lot of apple chips that I make, I make a lot of my own food and stuff. And everyone's like, I don't know, even at Thanksgiving, like even my mom is like, can I eat this cake in front of you? I'm like, I am fine. Like, I don't want the cake anymore. Like, I'm good.
That is so fascinating that your body adjusted and your brain was able to just turn off those like transmitters because like sugar is like crack cocaine, basically. Like once you start, you can't stop.
My thing is I remember what it all tastes like. I remember what it all smells like. I remember like I remember if my daughter's eating Doritos, I'll go up and smell them and I'm like, oh yeah. I just don't need, I don't know. It was weird. Like when I was extra fat, like I don't know. It's hard to explain, but like I would be like, man, I only had 4 cheeseburgers today. Why did I gain weight? They were little. I thought like eating a little bit of whatever it was okay, and now that like, I don't know, I just started to understand like how food did what it does to your body and everything. It was just easier to like be like, I'm not doing that.
Oh, I like that idea that food is fuel. And I also like the idea of convincing myself that I'm allergic to it. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I have gut issues, I have liver issues. So, like, honestly, I shouldn't be eating a lot of the stuff that I'm addicted to eating.
Yeah.
So,
I
and
mean,
then
you
I
just,
eventually get sick and then I end up in the hospital and then we start all over again.
yeah, it's tough, it's, I don't know. Someone once told me like, if you want to lose weight, you'll know when it's time. You'll know like, and every time you try, you'll think you have known. And it's the same as like falling in love. When it's just, when it's time, it's time. And you can save yourself in a sense. Like, when I go to my doctor now and they take blood and run my tests, my doctor, he told me he has like 2,000 patients, and on paper, like, I'm one of his top 5 healthiest patients. And like, he didn't know me back when I was like extra fat. And like, I found this place where I went to the doctor in 2010, and I found my blood test records. They still had them. And I dug them up and I brought them to my doctor because I don't know what any of that says. And he compared the two, and he was like, if you told me, if I'm not sitting here in front of you, I wouldn't be convinced this is the same person on paper. And it was like, I was like, he was like, look at this number now, and it'd be like 1.7. And he'd be like, look at this, and it was like 40. And I'm like, that's crazy to me. So like, it's just it's an overall feeling of well-being.
And then also making it a lifestyle, not a diet.
Yeah,
It
I'm
is a
not trying.
lifestyle change. I
Yeah.
call it like I have to change my food vocabulary.
Yeah.
Right? Like these are the foods I can eat. Stop focusing on the things I can't.
Yeah. You just have to. And I'll give you an example. So like recently, not recently, maybe like a year or so, the first time I interviewed Jelly Roll, he was asking about my weight. We were talking about losing weight. And he told me like, before I told him what I eat and how I eat, he's like, I've tried to just eat broccoli and chicken and fish. And he's like, it ain't gonna happen. He's like, you're not just gonna eat all that forever and not eat your other. And then, but I was like, dude, I don't know. Like, I kind of do that. And then now, fast forward a year or so later, and Jelly Roll's lost 100 pounds. And the way that he is doing it is through eating better and changing his lifestyle. So the reason I'm telling this is, when you're in the thick of it, you might not realize that you can do it, but you can. And there's even people that are superstars like Jelly Roll that recently that I know that are doing the same thing that I did, that anybody can do it. Like, because I never thought I could lose a significant amount of weight and then keep it off, nor did I care to. Like, it was like, my name was Big Boy. Like,
well, that's the thing. Your name was Big Boy and Chunky. Well, before I get back to the name, did you show Jelly Roll a picture of yourself at your fattest?
Yeah. He was like, holy shit. Yeah, definitely.
So do you think that maybe you got to him a little bit? That like,
No.
wow, like maybe I can do this?
No, maybe. I don't know. Maybe,
I'm making that a headline on social
Yeah, I
media.
mean, hey, maybe us big guys, we're a fraternity. So like, we know. And that when I got my advice on when it's time to lose weight, it was from someone that had lost a bunch of weight that was also very big. So maybe there's something there. Maybe it's just big on big confidence.
Well, I also think it's the baby steps become like the bigger steps, and you just have to focus on the baby steps. I think a lot of times, like, I'm always focused on like the 100 pounds I have to lose instead of like just eat the right thing now.
Yeah, I
make the right choice right now.
Right. And see, I couldn't, when I was at like 500 pounds, those scales you get at Target don't go up that high.
No.
That was a benefit for me though, because when I first started this, the last time I'd ever go on a diet per se, I didn't know how much weight I was losing. I was just like, let's just go. And then it wasn't until I went to the doctor and stepped on a scale after 6 months, I saw I lost 100 pounds. I thought like their scale was wrong. And like, I had the nurses like, I turned my back. I'm like, you step on it. I won't look, but let me know if if it's right. And she was like, that's what I weigh. It's right. And I was like, there's no way.
So were you happy to say goodbye to the big boy name and the chunky name?
I don't think I was happy, but I wasn't like upset. I was just kind of like, whatever. Once I had like changed my name a bunch of times on the radio, after a while, I was just like, whatever.
I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's talk about falling in love. And you know when you met your wife Kristen when you were working in New York City, right?
Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
So she doesn't. I was on a pop station, and she didn't listen to pop music. She listened to like rock, or I don't know what they like
alternative.
Sad.
She's more like alternative indie rock.
Sad. Yeah, but I guess she was in the car with one of her friends who was listening to the radio station I worked on, which was a pop station. And I had made a joke about being fat because that was like my shtick on the air. And she heard it and I guess had like a thing for like bigger dudes or whatever, and like messaged the radio station chat and was like, hey, don't ever change. You're fine just the way you are. So I was like, oh, thanks. And then, hey, hit me up on my Facebook, blah, blah, blah. So then she hit me up on Facebook and she was like not any of the other girls that were hitting me up on Facebook.
No, she is so different than your type from when I knew you. Like, not to offend any of those girls, but she is nothing like who you were dating.
No, yeah. So it was like crazy to me. So I at first didn't even think she was like real. So I like did the whole deal where like I was like make a video, say my name and stuff like that. And then we just started talking, and from that point on, we just been together, and we've moved from New York City to California to Philadelphia to Portland to Detroit and now to here. And
well, it takes a lot. I think it takes a lot to be the partner of a radio host, especially if like all those. I mean, it's not easy. You question every time, like, why are we doing this again?
Yeah.
So, like, props to her for number one sticking by you, and props to you for believing in yourself and your radio talent, because you've never really given up. You've always known, like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. There's been a lot of people that I haven't made it. That I'm just very fortunate that I've had the opportunities I've had to be able to not give up, and yeah, she's just been the best. And she's a photographer and music photographer. So like, she's actually worked a lot with me in the cities I'm in, getting her own gigs. And she has like her own established business now in Nashville, taking pictures where I'm using her name to get into places. So it's like,
yeah,
it's like, so hopefully we don't have to move again. But yeah, that was another part of like old school radio, was that you had to move a lot.
Yeah, they said don't pack your boxes.
Yeah,
they always say, unpack your boxes.
Yeah, so I had to move so much, and now like this job came right when my daughter was born, and hopefully this will be one where I can slide under the radar and just kind of like die here.
Just keep doing the thing. So your daughter's 5, your son, I think, just turned 1, right?
Yeah.
How has having children now changed your life?
Oh man, everything that everybody ever said is like true. Everything where we're like, yeah, whatever. It's just everything just made me grow up, and it's like there's like other things going on. I just remember like radio was like the deal in my life. Like there was nothing I wanted more all day, every day than to like do the radio. And now I'm like, the radio, I still feel that way about it, and still like writing editorial stories for the website, Taste of Country. But I just want to get home, man. I just want to hang out with my kids and like do all the stuff with my kids. And it's like, it just changed my life for the better.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Are you allowed to, in the show that you have now, bring like your personality and like your personal life, or is it really just more about the music and the artist? Are you allowed
No,
to mix yourself into it?
yeah, totally. They let me do, and they have since day one, just whatever I want, and I just like to keep my show very like a mix between me working the second shift along with my listeners to us hanging out on the second shift with, Kenny Chesney, and stuff like that. So I incorporate like interviews into my show a lot, but I also incorporate like, my life. I mean, if anybody listens to the show, like, I don't know, I go on road trips a lot, like with my family. So I just like to picture when I go into like the truck stops and things like that, like the person working behind the counter, the person mopping, the trucker coming through, like that's who's listening. So it helps me like, I'm along on the shelf as they do the second shift. And so it's important to be yourself and talk about that, especially in country music, because we all just are living the same life in country music. It's, I'm
Yeah. Well,
not.
and authenticity too. You can be nothing but yourself.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. It's just and being in Nashville is totally crazy because they all live here. So it's like you just can hang out and see them whenever. It's like the craziest thing.
do you get like last minute calls sometimes where it's like so and so's in town, Evan? Can you
Yeah,
throw them in the studio for a quick
yeah,
15 minutes?
all the time. Yeah, all the time. And it's like, there's definitely a bar to which, I'll come back for if I've already left for the day, if it's, I've come back before for like Kenny Chesney and, but, so it's like, definitely, there's definitely last minute, especially the really big artists when they have like moments that they do stuff, those are usually last minute. The ones that, it's not true necessarily. I mean, there's some that are some of the big artists that are like planned 3 months out. Then there's some big artists that they're like, hey, this guy's going to be in town filming a video. Can we stop by? And I've just been grateful to work at this. It's like one of the biggest country outlets in the world, so it's like I'm just here, and they're coming to see the outlet and give their stuff. So I'm just here to get it from them.
Well, also all the tools that you have now, because everybody has to be on air live, right?
Yeah.
You can record stuff, you can throw it on social media, you can throw it on the website, and at least still have like touchstones with the artist that you're interviewing or dealing with. So that's the best part, is that there's other ways to interview them beyond just the radio show, and then you just take the best clips and you throw them on the radio show and then you push to your website.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like I do the interviews and we go through and parcel out which ones are going to be good for editorial on the website, and then I pick which ones would be good for over radio intros, and we plug them in.
I love that.
You pick what?
Well,
yeah.
You've done nights, you've done mornings. Which do you like better? Is there like a time frame that you're like, oh, I love this?
I like the morning show format and the vibe of being able to do a morning show the best. It's tough waking up that early, but I kind of do anyway with kids now, so whatever. But I like that the best. But then I also like the night show because you get to like connect, because you don't have to, like, the music lives as this focus. So it's like there's not so much that you have to like, you're driving the actual train as opposed to being the train per se. So it's like
It's a different vibe.
yeah, it's a different vibe, and I'm really enjoying that in this, whatever the kids say, era of my life.
Well, also, and honestly, I worked in morning radio between both shows that I've done for over 15 years, and I didn't get to be morning parent for years. And that was so hard. Like the first time when I finally left radio for the opportunity just to start my own thing, I was like, oh my God, I just realized I've never been able to be there for my kids in the morning, which is like mind blowing.
I know. And I'm glad I've never, like, when I did mornings, I didn't have any kids, but I could only imagine, It's
I'm so glad I don't have to miss that anymore.
I know, and those wake up calls of like
Oh God.
or whatever.
I know. Exactly.
Yeah,
Um, just really quickly, I want to ask you one more weight loss question and then
yeah.
we can wrap up. But do you have excess skin? Did you have plastic surgery? When you lose that much weight, your body changes. Did you like go through any changes? Did you get plastic surgery?
My mom was just telling everybody at the Thanksgiving table this over the weekend. Like, it's so funny. I came back from like getting chicken or something at a table at a restaurant. And I came back and I just hear my mom going like, and he didn't, I don't know how, but he didn't have any excess skin. And I'm not sure. I had like a little bit on my arm, but like other than that, like, I think I was like, when I was 500 pounds, I feel like I carried it all over my whole body. I didn't like everything was just big. So I feel like a lot just kind of went back in and I didn't have that problem. Like,
You're lucky.
I
That's
know,
amazing.
like I work with a guy that had bariatric surgery and then had the skin surgery after and same thing as me, almost 500 pounds. And I don't know. I didn't have that problem. And I don't know. I've looked it up many times and like some people do and some people don't. I don't know if it's just like a skin thing. I
Well,
don't
God
know.
bless you.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not the best looking guy naked, but I'm not the worst. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and you found the one, so it doesn't matter.
That's
All right.
right.
Really quickly, how can people listen to your show? Where do they go?
Okay. So if you just go to tasteofcountry.com and then click on the night show and it'll give you a list of every city I'm in on the radio portion. But if you're somewhere where I'm not, you can stream the show live on the website as it's happening at tasteofcountry.com every night. It's on the Eastern time zone schedule on the website. On the radio, it runs 7 to midnight in the respective city that it runs. Or you can follow me on social media at Evan Paul on air that way. And there's links that way.
And is there a country star you haven't interviewed yet that you're like, I would love to get this person?
There's one, George Strait.
Okay, why George?
I've interviewed everybody, like Dolly Parton. I've interviewed
Oh,
Reba.
I love her.
I've interviewed everybody I could even ever think of and their mother, but the elusive George Strait. Before it was George Strait, Blake Shelton, but I just got Blake at the CMAs. I just haven't had the opportunity to interview George Strait.
All right, we'll have to figure that out, George, if you're listening, FYI.
Yeah, that would be sweet.